Widely acclaimed, the Dark Tower saga has been considered the magnum opus of its creator, Stephen King, a fascinating concoction of multiple genres, like horror, dark fantasy, science fantasy, and western. The multiverse is a home of numerous powerful characters. The saga narrates the story of a gunslinger and his quest to find the Dark Tower, a mythical structure that is the focal point of all universes, and the main link connecting King's multiverse. Today, we've curated a list of this saga's 10 most powerful beings. Before we explore it, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button to show us your support. Now let's take a deep dive into the most fun part. Number 1. Gan. Also referred to as the White, or God, he created the physical universe from the magical waters of his navel. He is the creator of all the indefinite universes, including the ones where the readers read King's stories and also the ones where he writes them. In Midworld, Gan epitomized himself as the Dark Tower with 6 beams to sustain the alignment of time, space, dimension, and size. He rose from Prim and held all the universes together as the Dark Tower. He divided the universe into multiple and parallel realities. To keep him entertained, his wife Bessa, the only deity capable of influencing a person's life, invented the game of riddling. It's believed that Gan placed a Midworld constellation, Buffalo Star, in the sky. With immeasurable lifting abilities and infinite stamina, Gan possessed superhuman physical characteristics. With his ability to appear everywhere and anywhere in the fictional cosmology of King's multiverse, Gan is omnipresent. He's also omniscient, the author of all reality. The collapse of the 6 magnetic beams and the Crimson King are considered to be his weaknesses. Number 2. Maturin the Turtle. Maturin is a massive ancient turtle with incredible power. He was one of the 12 guardians of the beams, watching over one end while Shardik guarded the other. Unlike some of the more chaotic forces in the Dark Tower series, Maturin is wise, gentle, and patient. Most of the time, he stays tucked away inside his shell, only coming out on very rare occasions. One of which was when he had a stomachache so bad that he ended up throwing up the mainstream universe. His longtime enemy, It, yes, the creepy clown entity from It, saw him as slow and ridiculous, but Maturin wasn't bothered. In 1958, during the Ritual of Chud, he reassured Bill Dunbro that It was actually terrified of him, the turtle, and of what humans were capable of. With Maturin's encouragement, Bill found the strength to fight back and successfully forced It to retreat. Number 3. The Crimson King. He's considered the ultimate protagonist of the Dark Tower series, though his first major appearance was in Insomnia. With his supreme goal of destroying the Dark Tower, he symbolizes pure evil, chaos, and darkness. He wanted to bring Discordia, the chaotic state of anarchy, to rule the chaos and rebuild a world based on the fabrics of his terror and unhinged evil power. He resulted from the union between a female demon named Crimson Queen from the Prim and a human father, King Arthur Eld, who made him a shapeshifter who could take human form. He shared ancestry with Roland Deschain, who often referred to the latter as his cousin. The series' final volume referred to the Crimson King as the Great Scuttering Spider King, which suggests his resemblance to his son Mordred, who looked like a human-sized spider. He could take any form as a shapeshifter, but his distinguished feature remained his blood-red eyes. He used a group of captive telepaths, children with psychic abilities, known as the Breakers, to deteriorate the beams of the Dark Tower to tear it down. Created a giant machine called Antac, also known as the Big Combination, to spread disharmony throughout the multiverse. It was run by the children, who failed to become possible breakers. The malevolent ruler of chaos also targeted Patrick Danville, a boy prophesied to play a pivotal role in saving the Dark Tower. His paranoia led him to insanity, and ultimately he committed suicide and turned into an undead creature that continued its quest for boundless chaos and rule. The Crimson King saw his end when Patrick drew his picture using Roland's blood and then erased it, removing the evil king's existence. However, his red eyes remained, symbolizing the Crimson King's evil. Number 4. Mordred Deschain, also known as Chap or Little Red King. Mordred was born to 2 red parents and 2 white parents. He's the secondary antagonist, an evil shapeshifter like his father, the Crimson King. Being a werespider, he could transform from a boy into a human-sized spider. After having sex with Roland Deschain, this demon took his sperm, and the other demon dumped that sperm into Susanna's womb. Both Mia and Susanna became simultaneously pregnant with Mordred. In Dogen, Mia gave birth to Mordred, but the first thing he did after coming out of his mother's womb was eat her alive. His hunger had no bounds, especially in his spider-like form, and thus he constantly needed food. Nigel, the robot, supplied him with all this food. Man in Black, the servant of the Crimson King, tried pursuing Mordred to aid him in opening the Dark Tower. Instead of falling into his trap, Mordred ended up killing him. Using his power of mind control, he manipulated Roland's catet into eating people to his wish. Mordred harbored instinctive rage rage toward his father, Roland, so when his Red father, the Crimson King, instructed him to kill Roland, he was prompted to do it. He attacked Roland and Oy, but to his surprise, Oy took the attack, sacrificed his life, and saved Roland. Mordred failed. In the end, Mordred saw his end at the hands of his father, Roland Deschain. Number 5. The Man in Black, Randall Flagg. Randall Flagg, alias Walter Paddock, is one of the most important antagonists from King's multiverse, appearing in most of the volumes of the Dark Tower saga, with his first appearance in the novel The Stand. The arch-nemesis of Roland Deschain, in King's opinion, is the best villain he has ever created, wearing charisma up his sleeves. A successful sorcerer was the Crimson King's loyal servant, the multiverse's ultimate villain. His primary goal was to bring down civilizations by ensuring destruction and sowing the seeds of conflict. His father, Merlin, entrusted a mill owner and his wife with Flagg's upbringing, but Flagg burnt his home out of boredom at the tender age of 13. After getting sexually abused by a fellow wanderer, he decided to chase his destiny instead of returning home. It's suggested that Flagg spent the next years mastering black magic. Merlin might have helped him master it, leading him to achieve quasi-immortality. He attempted to create a rift between James Farson and John Farson to strengthen the Crimson King's side. To serve his master, Flagg orchestrated a grand evil scheme under the title of Marten Broadcloak. He played a dual role, becoming an advisor to Stephen, and acting as a magician to his son Gilead's court. Still, his true intention was to seduce Roland's mother, Gabrielle, so he could deliberately expose the controversy to Roland. Enraged, Roland was pushed to take his gunslinger trial at the young age of 14. However, Marten's plan failed when Roland succeeded in that trial. Marten's attempts didn't stop there. He helped John Farson bring destruction to the in-world, resulting in Gilead's fall. After killing Cuthbert Allgood, Roland's best friend, in the Battle of Jericho Hill, he became Walter O'Dim, alias Man in Black. Roland caught Walter in the Cyclopean Mountains, but he tricked him, faking his death, and fled. In Wizard and Glass, he reappears as Randall Flagg. Using his ability to manipulate and trick, he again managed to escape Roland, leaving behind Merlin's grapefruit. Randall's supreme goal was to control the room at the top of the Dark Tower. Mordred killed Randall, yet his current status is unknown in the series. Number 6. Dandello. A psychic vampire, Joe Collins, is another powerful being in the Dark Tower saga. His horse Lippy and his companion Dandello lived on the odd lane in the White Lands of Empathica. He kept Patrick Danville as a hostage, cut his tongue to prevent him from speaking, and used to feed him. Dandello could feed off his victims' emotions. Roland and Susanna, too, could not escape him and fell as his prey. Like a cunning predator, he laid out a trap for them, revealing to Roland that he used to be a stand-up comedian before entering Allworld. Roland was near death as he laughed at Dandello's jokes, but Susanna avoided that trap, as she retreated to use the washroom at the right time. She found a note there exposing Joe's real identity. Stephen King apparently left the note there. Before Dandello succeeds in draining out Roland's life, Susanna shoots him and kills him, and later she and Roland discover Patrick in the basement of Dandello's cottage. Number 7. Blaine the Mono. The supporting antagonist found its origin in the Wastelands. In the form of a pink train created by the Old Ones, Blaine had control over a vast arsenal, including nuclear and chemical weapons, making him one of the most powerful beings from the Dark Tower saga. His loneliness throughout his enormous life pushed him over the edge of his sanity, and he didn't hesitate to kill his counterpart by removing a vital part of her programming, Patricia the Mono, to silence her once and for all. His real purpose of taking the passengers to Topeka turned deadly afterward. Little Blaine, the rogue part of his brain, was afraid of Big Blaine. When Roland and his companions rode Blaine, they got to know about his intentions of committing suicide. In exchange for sparing their lives, Roland offered him a riddle he could never solve, since Blaine had a peculiar obsession with riddles. With his unmatchable artificial intelligence and the brain created with dipolar computers in the city of Lud, Blaine answered all the riddles without missing a beat. In an attempt to solve Eddie's goofy riddle, Blaine ends up burning the circuits that cause his death. Yet his body continued in the direction of Topeka and crashed into the station. However, fortunately, his speed gradually decreased over the distance, which helped the group survive. Number 8. Roland Deschain. While we discuss the most powerful beings of the Dark Tower saga, this list is incomplete without the main protagonist and perhaps the psychologically strongest and most determinant character from the fictional multiverse, Roland Deschain. Born to Stephen and Gabrielle Deschain in Gilead, Roland was the sworn enemy of the Crimson King and Walter Paddock. He traced his legacy back to Arthur Eld. He was Eld's final human descendant and the last gunslinger. His supreme goal was to reach the top of the Dark Tower. He shared a warm bond with his best friend Cuthbert and his pet dog Ringo. Roland learned to handle the darkness from a young age and keenly observed his father and surroundings, greatly shaping his personality. Provoked by Marten Broadcloak's scheme of exposing his affair with Gabrielle, Roland challenged Court, his mentor. With the help of his weapon, his hawk David, he won the challenge and earned guns at the age of 14. To escape Marten's threat, Roland was sent to Hambry by his father. A woman named Susan stole Ronald's heart in Hambry, where he made love to her, taking her virginity and eventually impregnating her. However, Susan faced a tragic death afterward. Roland and his quartet acquired Maryland's grapefruit after defeating the big coffin hunters, who worked for the good man. This is the source from which Roland learned about the Dark Tower and Susan's death. Roland's mad obsession with the sphere made him mistakenly sin by killing his mother. Roland's ultimate quest to reach the Dark Tower followed multiple obstacles, from chasing after the Man in Black, getting attacked and poisoned by Lobstrosity, a huge lobster-like monster, saving Jake from Dutch Hill Mansion monster, and then escaping from Blaine the Mono's suicide attempt, keeping the village of Kala from the wolves, and every single rose that grew in Manhattan in 1977 to save the Dark Tower, to meeting Stephen King and pressuring him to continue writing the Dark Tower series. Every event showcased Roland's fierce determination, mental strength, and perseverance, which not everyone possesses, and perhaps that sets him apart from many powerful characters in the series. Ultimately, he finally reached the Dark Tower and its topmost room. He watched the Mohaine Desert through its window, where his journey had begun, and since his journey's nature is a time loop, Roland Deschain's fate remains uncertain. His character shows no supernatural power can match relentless will. Number 9. Susanna Dean. Also known as the Lady of Shadows, she had a dissociative identity disorder. Odetta Holmes had a gentler personality, while Detta Walker was deadly. These personalities merged, resulting in a new personality named Susanna Dean. Jack Mort was a sociopathic killer who caused the birth of Detta Walker when Odetta was only 5 years old. Odetta became a peaceful civil rights activist, while Detta turned into a dangerous serial killer. Roland Deschain became the reason for the merging of her personalities and the creation of Susanna Dean. She helped Roland and Eddie bring back Jake Chamber and stop Roland's insanity. With her high intellect, Susanna solved the riddle given by Blaine the monorail. She even gave birth to Mia after getting impregnated by the demon during her attempt to bring Jake back. She came to terms with that shocking discovery and focused on her mission of saving the villagers of Kala from the group of wolves. She succeeded in that mission, but Mia took over her body and ran off to Dixie Pig, where she was afraid the child would wreak havoc, and that child turned out to be Mordred Deschain. After losing her close companions, Eddie and Jake, Susanna saved Roland's life from Dandelo. Despite all the hurdles she overcame, Susanna had to bid Roland goodbye when they were close to the Dark Tower. She was shown mostly in a wheelchair due to her injuries, and her weapon was a revolver she trained to use. Since Detta was a serial killer and skilled in using various weapons, Susanna inherited those skills that helped her survive through all the attacks with resilience, despite having no supernatural powers. Number 10. Jake Chambers and Eddie Dean. He was a part of Roland's quartet and also his spiritual son. He even looked like Roland's younger self, with handsome features, blonde hair, and blue eyes. He was 12 years old. He had strong survival instincts with a fearless demeanor and possessed sharp senses. His desire to find where he belonged made him join Roland on his quest for the Dark Tower. Jake also had a psychic skill, the touch. With his father's Ruger as his weapon, Jake quickly became a gunslinger with ease. He also picked up on signs of the universe that may seem insignificant at the moment, but turned out to be crucial later. Jake did not share a warm bond with his biological father, Elmer Chambers. In 1977 in New York, he was killed by the Man in Black. After landing in the way station in Midworld after his death, he encountered Roland, and they soon developed a father-son bond, despite Jake's initial apprehension toward Roland's loyalty. Under the Cyclopean Mountains, Jake fell to his second death because of Roland's desperate choice of catching the Man in Black and finding the Dark Tower. Suffering from the guilt and after discovering the truth behind Jake's death, Roland interfered in the matter, preventing Jake's death and made them both suffer split timelines in their minds. While living in New York, Jake made many important discoveries, including the rose and the key in a vacant lot in the city. To stop Roland's madness, Jake was again brought to Midworld in 1977 to rejoin the quartet. He proved his combat skills by using Oryzes during the fight against the wolves at Kala. In the final stage of his journey, Jake accompanied Roland to Keystone World, where he died in an attempt to save Stephen King from an accident. Jake's body was later buried by Roland. Eddie was another member of Roland's second quartet and Susanna's husband. Living through a troubled childhood and addiction, Eddie harbored a natural talent for being a gunslinger. Although Roland was not very impressed by Eddie's goofy humor, he slowly began began to see him beyond that, recognizing his powers. Eddie possessed an amazing ability to escape trouble unharmed. Roland saved Eddie from getting caught by security while trying to smuggle cocaine. Afterward, Eddie saves Roland's life when the Lobstrosity's attack infects him. Odetta Holmes was introduced to Eddie by Roland, and he fell in love with her at first sight. Despite her trouble with a split personality, Roland married Susanna Dean. Eddie played a pivotal role in saving the group from Blaine Lamano with his silly jokes. He died after getting shot just above his eye and warned Roland about Dandelo's threat. His journey proves that Eddie was more than just an addict and a goofy personality. He aspired for a better life for himself, his beloved, and the world, and was a true friend. All these powerful beings together make the Dark Tower saga a stellar work by Stephen King. We hope you agree with our list and like our content. Don't forget to comment on your favorite powerful being from the list, and stay tuned for the next one.